I work as a security guard at a factory. Most of the times, I was assigned to graveyard shifts. All the workers used to leave the factory by 9 p.m., after which it used to be a complete ghost town. The factory was pretty big, so it was not possible to keep watch on the entire premises from the watchman quarters. Due to this reason, part of my duty included going on periodic rounds to make sure everything is alright. I always had one other guard with me on duty who used to be at the quarters when I went on rounds. On the night of the incident, that other guard was Steve. It was about 1 a.m., time for my round around the factory. I informed Steve about it and left. The factory used to manufacture some kind of chemicals which used to act as raw materials for further processing. Let me tell you about the layout of the factory. The watchman's quarters were at the main gate. As you enter the main gate, there was a huge building which was the actual factory where all the work was done. Behind that building were 6 huge tanks where the chemicals were stored. Above and around the tanks was a complex web of pipes coming from the other side of the factory building. I completed the round of the factory when I heard a noise. It was like something hitting on a metal pipe. At first, I did not pay much attention. But then I heard it again and again. I soon realized that something was making that noise deliberately. I only had a flashlight with me and a plastic rod for defense. I made my way towards the tanks. After crossing 2 tanks, I realized that the noise had stopped and it was completely silent. I stood like a statue waiting for something to happen, when all of a sudden I heard it again. But this time, it was much closer. It felt as if the noise came from right above me. As an instinctive reaction, I turned my torchlight on the pipes above. There, what I saw was one of the most horrific scenes of my entire life. There was a human. I don't know if it was a man or a woman with long hairs, wearing a long white dress hanging from one of the pipes. I was taken aback but could not figure out in which direction was that person facing. I suddenly saw its eyes through the hairs which were covering its entire face. Those dreadful, fiery eyes. I still remember them vividly. My legs began shaking. I knew I wanted to run away as fast as I could, but my legs were not responding. I turned around but fell down. I heard that same metallic noise once more, and that was when the adrenaline finally kicked in. I ran like a madman towards the front gate. I believe my screams could be easily heard miles away, so it was not surprising that Steve came running towards me hearing my screams. I did not stop and kept running towards the quarters. Steve knew I had seen something really horrible to give that kind of a reaction. I finally caught my breath and told him what I saw. As scared as I was, I had to go back in there to show Steve where I had seen that figure. As you would have guessed, it had disappeared. It was obvious that the management would not listen to us or even believe in our story. So we kept the incident to ourselves. It's been only 2 weeks since the incident and I have not heard or saw anything again. I just hope it stays that way. I used to work as a supervisor at a local factory which used to deal in fresh vegetables and other agricultural produce. Due to this, the schedule of the factory was such that the production for the previous day had to leave the factory for delivery early next morning. Hence, most of my work was in the night, inspecting the finished goods ready for delivery next morning. On one such instance, I was busy doing my work in the delivery area of the factory. The delivery area was kind of secluded from the main production area. So as I was inspecting the goods, I was the only person working in the area. I was moving from one section to the other when I was overcome by an uneasy feeling. It was a feeling which I could not describe, but I thought I was being watched. I looked around as a reaction but did not expect to see anyone. As I was about to get back to work, I heard something fall from the other side. I quickly ran to the side from where the noise came. There were a few boxes fallen down from one of the racks above. I was getting confused because I had gone through that section before and knew that the boxes were placed properly. So for them to fall without any reason was weird. I was looking around in all directions in confusion when I saw something. Someone was standing behind a few boxes. I only got to see half his face, and that too for like half a second. I was not sure if I really saw what I just saw, but the feeling of uneasiness just got worse. I was anyways done with my work. As I was leaving the section, I turned around once more when I saw the same man again. This time I ran out to get the attention of the security guards on duty. As I reached the front gate, I saw that there were already 2 cops talking with the guards. I was breathless when I reached there, but managed to tell them what I saw. I led the cops to the delivery area, where they told me to stand outside as they themselves got in. Not even 2 minutes had passed when I heard them shouting at someone. Backup soon arrived, and I saw cops bringing out a man in handcuffs. Apparently he was a wanted criminal and had been evading police for a long time. He had been seen in our area by someone who tipped the police about him. The cops were there to ask if we had seen the man when I came at the main gate. I was relieved when he was caught, but when the cops came back to tell me that the man had intended to attack me with a metal object and run away with my identity cards and my car, this sent a shiver down my spine as I heard it, knowing what would have happened if I had not made my way out of there when I did. Our town had an abandoned factory just outside the town in a secluded wooden area. It was a place where I, along with my friend Jacob, wanted to explore for a long time. Hence, over this particular weekend, when we had nothing to do, we decided why not go to that factory. The factory was at an isolated place with woods on all 4 sides. It was so long abandoned that nobody even knew what was produced there. We knew that the factory had been covered by trees and other foliage over the years, but when we reached there, we were a little shocked and disappointed. The building was covered so much that we might have even missed it completely had Jacob not spotted the huge metal gate behind some bushes. We got out of the car and tried to find a way to get inside the main building. We had driven for about half an hour to do this, and we were not going back without even trying once. We soon reached the back side of the building, where I found a window which was open. We got in there and began exploring. The building was so dilapidated that we were having second thoughts going on the higher floors. Most of the factory was not accessible even from inside, as rubble and other building materials had collapsed on themselves, making it difficult and also risky to go through. We were hugely disappointed and were about to leave when we saw a room on the side from where we came in. It was maybe a storeroom. We reached outside the room, which had its door just a little open. For a second, we both were silent. That was when we both heard something. It was like someone walking on the rubble, just that the sound was coming from inside the room. I don't know how we got that confidence in us, but we both pushed the door open in an instant. Our lights revealed nothing. We went a little inside and soon found out that there was no one in there. We were about to leave the room when the door from where we came in shut on its own. It all happened in front of our eyes. We tried to open it with all our might. Despite 2 of us pulling the door, we could not move it an inch. Our flashlights also began to flicker and within seconds went off. I was so scared that I began crying like a little child. Jacob had lost it too. He was pounding hard on the door to no avail. And once again we heard those same footsteps from the other corner of the room. They were coming closer to us. The fact that we were in a closed room with no lights with an unknown person or entity made us once again pound on the door really hard. This time we managed to break the door. But we did not wait to figure out who was in the room. We leapt out of the window and kept running till we were beside our car. Jacob and I began throwing up as soon as we stopped. We quickly got in the car and were at my house within half an hour. We were still so terrified that Jacob stayed at my place for the night. We did not tell anyone about this for the fear of getting laughed at. I never believed in the paranormal, but the experience we had that night was enough to turn a skeptic into a believer. Not to mention, we never ever thought of going back to that factory again.